The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 81.
81.
What is the topic?
This is Live and Let Live.
Good one.
Yeah, it is.
Very
it's going to
good
be
one.
good, I think. I got a lot of good stuff here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Important.
It is.
Very important. All right. Well, before we hop into that, anything from last week?
I have a few things I wanted to talk about. Yes.
Cool.
Today actually is the anniversary of a mass shooting in our area. Actually, it would have happened yesterday, but we all kind of woke up to the news. So this is the day I use as the anniversary. So I wanted to dedicate this episode to them in memory of the Borderline 12, the people that lost their lives in that mass shooting. In
Yeah, I
Thousand
think
Oaks.
it's cool.
Yeah. 2 years ago. Crazy, huh? Time really flies.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And then I wanted to talk about our merch. That we have a lot of merch. You can go to redbubble.com/spiritualjoneses and you can see all of the different things that we have there. But we don't have our stickers they have stickers and magnets and stuff, but we also have other stickers and magnets and coasters and holographic stickers here.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to do is that if anybody would like us to send them some of this stuff, please just email me your address and I'll put a little package together with some of our merch for you.
Swag.
Yeah,
if you will.
exactly. Swag.
The Jones swag.
Yeah, Spiritual Joneses swag.
Nice.
So yeah, just go ahead and email me at spiritualjoneses@gmail.com with your address, and if there's anything in particular that you would like, if you don't say what you want, I'll just send you some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're cool. They're really cool.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They did a good job. They did a good job.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's very good. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is that we are now post-election.
Yay. Happy that's over.
Oh my gosh. Seriously, like, there's different pep in my step. I don't know if you notice it. I feel like the weight of the world was lifted off of my shoulders. Not just because it's over, but because I could feel the energy. I could feel the hatred and the anxiety and everything building. And so when I found out that morning, it was literally like 1,000 tons taken off my shoulders. And I know a lot of people that feel the same way for a multitude of reasons. But if you're spiritual and, you're an empath, and you probably feel much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I like to say it, even for the people that maybe didn't vote for Biden are probably happy that in general that it's just
Over.
that waiting period is over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now we don't know what's going to happen from here, what Trump's going to do, how he's going to take the news, and what other things might happen.
Right.
But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the peace and calm and knowing that we're moving into a different era.
I think this is the beginning of that.
I do too. I think this is the beginning of the shift. Mm-hmm. You can see it. Whenever have we had a time that we had an election where people were dancing in the streets in all the major cities? Even here in our little city, they were on the street out there dancing and having a good time. It's just, people feel it. They feel it. They may not know even what it is, but they feel the relief of the anxiety.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So now we can hopefully start to move towards peace and even around the world. We have a lot of listeners around the world, and I know you guys have been watching too. So they were even celebrating. I don't know if you know this, but they were actually celebrating in other areas of the world last night.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it was London that I saw that had fireworks.
Wow.
Yeah. I hate that.
Speaks
for
a lot.
him. Mm-hmm.
When other countries are. Yeah. It's hard to ignore that.
As an empath, I hate that for Trump, that feeling that he must have right now. But, it is time for us to move on.
This is how our system works. And you're either in for one term, 4 years, or you're reelected for a second term, which is a total of 8 years, or you're not. And we move on. We're now at the 46th president of the United States. This is how our system works.
Yes, exactly. And it worked this time. It did We were afraid it wasn't going to. I think that's why a lot of people were paranoid, because we didn't think it was going to work. And
there was a lot of energy there, but
a lot,
that you could feel.
Yeah, you can feel
even
the
through the
shift now.
television. It was incredible.
The amount of people that I've seen crying over the results, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been crying since I found out, on and off. It's this happy just relief of like, oh my gosh, I haven't felt that much anxiety in so long, and it's gone. And even newscasters, like one of the guys on CNN, he started crying on air. We can't help it because it's just this relief of anxiety. It's nice.
It is.
So I wanted to say, here we go, hopefully into this change, this era of peace, and moving into the fifth dimension. You know, a lot of people now are getting on board with their spirituality too. You know, seeing the way that we need to bring peace and the ways that we do that, and a lot of people manifesting now too. You can tell. Yeah. So keep manifesting. We're doing a good job.
For sure.
Yep. So that's it. That's what I want to talk about from last week.
You ready for episode 81?
I am.
All right. Live and let live.
Live and let live. What's interesting is that a lot of times I have talked about this, is that these episodes smack me in the face sometimes. I'll just be sitting somewhere and all of a sudden, wham, this is what you're supposed to do. And they always make sense why they're put in this order. And so it was actually last week before we did the paranormal episode that I got this feeling like you have to do this episode. Like I almost wanted to say, screw the paranormal episode, we need to do this now. But I was like, nah, it's okay. It's important. It's next in line after the other things we've been talking about, because we were talking about forgiveness and acceptance. And this is really the next step after acceptance. Yeah. When I started like reading articles and putting this episode together, that was like the first thing that I came across was live and let live is like acceptance. And I was like, we did an acceptance episode. But I promise you this will be much different.
And it's just a phrase I've heard my whole life.
It is. Yeah. It's a proverb. Live and let live is a proverb that basically means you should tolerate the opinions of others so they will similarly tolerate your own.
Yes.
It's so simple, but we make it so complicated.
Right.
You know, religion is one thing here. It's like religious people want religion to be taught in schools, but they want their religion, just their religion, to be taught in schools for the most part. They don't want the diversity of it. So it's like, well, if you can't tolerate your child being taught another religion, what makes yours the right one? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've somehow, as a species, we've lost the ability to disagree without being combative.
Yes.
And, opinions have been around since the first, human that was here.
Yeah.
So we're all going to have them.
There's a difference between fact and opinion, and that is something that I think a lot of people have a hard time with, is that for them, like, okay, for me, my spirituality is a fact, but for other people, it's an opinion. For me, you're not going to be able to change my mind on it because I have such strong feelings on that this is what I feel and this is what I know.
Right.
But for other people, it is just my opinion, and I have to look at it as that that's just their opinion is, valid, that they can totally, if they don't believe what I believe, I can completely understand that, because until you really witness this for yourself, it's hard to imagine.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because I've been on both sides of that, because this wasn't something that was super prominent in your life or our marriage at the beginning. It happened during. Yeah. So, I sat on the other fence of skepticism, other side of the fence being skepticism, for a long time in life about certain things.
Right.
What's possible, what's not possible, what's okay, what's not okay.
Right.
And so now being introduced to it, I have seen it from both sides.
Right. Exactly.
So it's hard for me to really go back and argue that side.
You know what? For me too, even though like I've been able to communicate with the animals my whole life, I still doubted that psychics were a thing. I was skeptic about it. Even though I talked to psychics my whole life and had readings and they were usually accurate, there was still that one little thing in me that said, maybe this isn't real. Maybe,
Right.
So I understand you need to be put smack dab in that sometimes, because I'll never doubt it again, because it's something that I know, it's something that I can do myself. But for somebody that can't and maybe just goes to a psychic every once in a while, I can understand how they could be skeptical.
However, I will say that the minute you ask yourself or the universe, is this real?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you genuinely ask that question, and not shut it off as that's somebody's opinion or somebody, whatever, somebody else's thing.
Right.
You'll be shown.
Absolutely. And you said a good point there, is that you can't really be, I mean, we all are, but other people are going to have their opinions, and we can't let that affect us.
Right.
Like, I did worry for a while what people were going to think, especially people that had known me for a long time. And then all of a sudden I come out of the closet as a psychic, especially the ones that didn't know that I have had the animal communication abilities. I was like, oh, what are these people going to think about me? Are they going to not believe me because they've known me my whole life and they haven't seen this yet?
Right.
But you know what? It doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter at all. But it took me a while to see that. I was very self-conscious at first. But yeah, you once you realize that living your own life and not worrying about what other people think of you, that what happens then is that you stop, the whole process stops. If you stop caring what they think, and then it's in reverse too. You know what I mean? How they think of you doesn't affect you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not like you don't care about what they think if it were something worth caring about, but it's okay no matter what. So,
yeah. The other thing that people don't really think about, and I didn't even realize until I got into it, is that once you start accepting yourself as you are, you can better accept other people the way that they are. Because a lot of times I think that we don't want to see our own faults, and so we kind of project our faults onto other people. But when we start getting into our own self and doing shadow work, and I think we should do an episode on shadow work, because I've been doing a lot of that, and I didn't even know what it was until I started doing it.
Okay.
But once you get into that and pulling yourself apart and changing those things about yourself that you don't like, then when somebody else does something, even if it's not the same kind of thing, it makes you stop and think about why they're like that, and how they maybe can't help that they're like that, and how hard it was for me to change.
Right.
And so I shouldn't be judging people by what they think and what they say and what they do, because I don't know what they've been through.
Right.
And
so essentially you're saying it's like coming from a more compassionate, understanding point.
It might sound strange, but going through this and learning to accept myself has definitely helped me learn to accept other people and their differences. I mean, I've always been a tolerant person. I'm not the type to judge people based on like their sexual orientation or their race or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we all have times where we judge people on what they look like or what they do for a living or whatever it is, and even especially on what they say. And that's where I think for me, I just stop and I look at things differently. It's a nice feeling to be able to not have that kind of judgment towards people.
Yes.
And that's what this episode is about, is that live and let live, because just because that person is different from you doesn't mean that they're wrong.
Right.
We are all different. We're all created in God's image.
Right.
Different.
Yeah,
if we were all the same, it'd be boring.
Exactly, for sure. And that kind of maybe the other end of the spectrum or the other alternative of live and let live could be judge and be judged.
Yes.
And most of us don't want that.
No.
We want to live our lives how we wish to live our life, our beliefs, whatever it is, you know? So the last thing I think that any of us want to have done to us is be judged.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of your alternative. If you can't live and let live, then this is the other choice you have. I think when we're saying live and let live is like if somebody's doing something or has a belief or the thing in their life that doesn't affect you directly at all.
Business.
Then let it be.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's directly affecting you, okay, I understand.
Yeah, that's different.
Meaning if you have a commitment, a spouse, a job, I don't know, I could go on and on. But those type of things where you are required to be accountable to somebody else.
Yes, that's different.
Then, yeah, we all have to make sacrifice and compromise.
Right.
You know, in life. Relationships aren't always easy. Marriage isn't always easy.
Right.
Parenting isn't always easy. Relationships in general, is, you know, dealing with other humans.
Exactly.
Isn't easy.
No, it's not at all. And I think that this judgment is kind of bred into us. We're just taught that at a young age, you know.
Exactly.
So it's not really our fault. We just have to change it, you know. What did I put here? I said we're all human, okay? Where this philosophy comes from is that you're learning not to judge and to accept everyone as is. So then we talk about judgment, and then when you judge someone, it affects you more than the other person. I don't think we realize this. It really does. It because they don't know necessarily that you're judging them. You know, we all have our own insecurities. Like, you know, I used to be really insecure about my height, about being 5 feet. People made fun of me all the time for it, you know.
It's cute.
Well, right. But you think it's cute. But I have had people make fun of me. And, you know, I have had people like that I wanted to date that wouldn't date me because of my height, not necessarily even because of my weight, but because of my height.
Right.
You know, I found that really weird, but not everybody's like that is my point. And so for you, when you get like self-conscious about something like that, you don't know if that person really is thinking that about you. You may be like, oh man, I'm worried about my height. Am I, you know, or whatever it is that you're worried about, your makeup, your clothing, you know.
And it could be the last thing that person's even thinking about.
That's exactly right. So we're projecting our insecurities onto them when we don't even know what they're thinking, and they may be thinking a whole different thing, like you just said, that my height is cute.
Right.
But there's a lot of things I went into this relationship insecure about. My weight, and that's another thing that you're like, so, you know, but we're used to this as a society. We're used to being judged by people, and so then we judge ourselves, and we're insecure about all of these things, you know. It doesn't help us.
It's hard. It is bred into us as humans, and you look at kids and how they go to school, and, you know, kids can be mean to each other. But again, that starts with, what are they being taught?
Right, exactly.
Are we teaching our kids to, hey, live and let live? Let that kid do their thing and be into what they are into and dress how they want to and listen to the kind of music they want to. And if it's not directly affecting you, then what's the issue?
That's exactly right. Before the election, I didn't know much about Biden, but I looked into him because, you know, if you're going to vote for somebody, you should look into them and what their life is about, okay? And if you don't know much about him, he overcame a lisp, and he still has a problem with it every so often, and you could hear it in his speech, his acceptance speech, and a couple other times, especially when he's tired or he's nervous. So people make fun of him for that, you know. I don't really understand why anybody does that to anybody. Like, why would you make fun of somebody for something that they're born with and they can't help, especially if they work really hard to overcome it? Like, these are the types of things that people don't understand how much it can affect a person when you say those types of things to them.
Yeah.
I had an instance, I've told you about this, I've probably told you this story a million times, but our listeners haven't heard it. I was really big into acting when I was little. My mom wanted me to be an actress, and she pushed it a lot. And I was really good. I'm not going to lie. I was really good. And then I was bullied. Yeah. I was bullied for a part that I got that other girls thought that their friend should have got. Right. So I was bullied for it. And after that, I lost the ability to act the way I did before. Right. Because I became so self-conscious that I was not up to par or whatever, that it ruined my ability. But they're kids, and they don't understand how saying things like that can affect them. Mm-hmm. And so us as adults, we have to teach our kids not to talk this way about people. Yeah. So with anybody, but, you know, especially like this case in point, because it's right now, if you're watching Biden talking and he has a problem with his lisp and you start making fun of him and your kids are there, they hear this, and then they don't think it's a problem to make fun of other kids. This is kind of where the pattern needs to stop. Yeah,
I had a really good friend that I met at my previous job, and we worked together for several years. Miguel, that had he was an actor, pretty well-known actor
Yeah.
in his time, and had an accident, a fall, and created an injury because he landed hit his jaw, and that gave him a similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it affected his acting for a bit.
Yeah.
It took some rehabilitation. He had to get some like dental work done because of it too. But we worked with the public.
Yeah.
And watching not just the public, but some of our fellow employees,
Yeah.
the way that they would treat him,
Yeah.
and I was like, really?
Yeah.
You
Why?
don't even know this guy. You don't even know where he's been, what he's done.
No.
I mean, it's just incredible. So it never bothered me. I could see when he would get maybe tired or overwhelmed or something, kind of like Joe looked the other night.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
It's really, it doesn't make sense to make fun of people. It's really, it's kind of like how do I put this? It's a reflection of the person. So if somebody's bullying you or making fun of you, or it's a reflection of them. It's like they're trying to cover up something in themselves. It's not about the person necessarily that they're talking about, but that's really, really hard for us to grasp.
Right.
That it's their problem and not ours.
exactly. I think I'm grateful that I was able to kind of look past that.
Yeah.
And not be that type of person, because I gained a really good friend out of that.
Yep.
I mean, he gave me half the rugs in this studio.
Yeah.
He's like, you want
He's
some
a
rugs?
nice
I'm
guy.
like, I love him so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just so grateful that I got to experience him. He actually lived with me for a couple years too when he was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And he had been through hell.
Yeah.
So I really related to that part of, that story. So.
Yeah, and he's a good case in point, because I had heard a lot about him before I met him, and was kind of like, okay, well, which way is this going to go? Either I'm really going to like him or I'm not. He's different. He's I don't know how to describe him. He's very different.
He's eccentric.
He's eccentric.
An artist.
That's perfect. So it takes a little while to kind of understand what he's about. So people might make a snap judgment about him, but I kind of just let him make his impression on me. And you know what? He's one of the very few men that our Great Dane likes.
That's true.
Yeah. There's something so calming and soothing about him. But if you make a snap decision based on maybe something that you've heard, or what a person might look like, or how they might talk, or whatever,
right,
you could be missing an opportunity to get to know somebody that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible actor.
Yeah.
He's one of his last, or not one of his last films. He was in Fred Astaire's last film. He side by side with Fred Astaire. So
Yeah.
And did a lot of things,
Yeah.
And I have the utmost respect. I used to sit up with him at night, and we'd talk. And when Marina was real little, and she'd be asleep, and his boy was with him half the time, so he'd be asleep, and everybody'd be asleep, and we could just have cool conversations. But we always had cool conversations. We'd find places to do that no matter what.
Yeah,
but,
I bet.
He was somebody that, I felt like that's somebody I would go to bat for.
Right.
If somebody was talking about him in a negative manner because of his handicap, for sure.
Right. You have brought a lot of eclectic people and eccentric people into my life. People that I might not have really, I don't want to say given a chance, but tried to get to know, maybe, because they are so different. And a lot of us, I think we look for people that are like us, and we want that type of thing. But we're supposed to be different, and our differences is what kind of is supposed to make us bond. And so I actually really like getting to know these people that are different and learning about the way that their brains work as opposed to mine and other people's. It's nice to, when you understand that. You understand we're supposed to be different. We're not supposed to all be the same.
No,
and
that's
different
what makes
doesn't mean bad,
No, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's funny when you say that I've brought a lot of eccentric people. I would agree with that. And I guess I always felt like I was more normal.
I would say that.
And I wanted to be more eccentric. So I wanted to, through osmosis, kind of subject myself to different types of people.
Yeah.
To get different things. Because in essence, when I sort of look at the way I've grown up, I've sort of observed all these different things and aspects in life and picked the things I liked the most.
Right.
To sort of make who I was going to be.
Exactly.
So some of these people have a lot to do with that. They leave an impression on you because they're nothing like you.
That's right.
But they're very intriguing just because of that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. We all attract a certain kind of people, I think, or, in your case, a different kind of people. But I hear a lot from people like, why do I attract this certain type? What is it about me? Like, for example, for me, I tend to attract the broken ones, the people that need somebody to lean on and to heal them. And it's been like that my whole life, and I never realized it's because I'm a light worker and that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. So if you attract like a certain type of person, take a look at it and see why. Like with you, these people are attracted to you, and I think you like you said, you like it because they're different, and they like you because you accept them for who they are. Right. And that's unusual because a lot of these other people wouldn't understand, they just don't get them.
Right.
But when you stop and you look deeper and it changes things. So those snap judgments that we have a tendency to do is a big thing of what we need to let go of, because it can change your relationships and who you are friends with.
Right. I mean, and even in the terms of live and let live, if it doesn't mean you have to live right next to somebody and stare at them all day long, because that's not how it works.
Right.
It just means, so-and-so across the world that's doing their thing in their own belief and their own path and journey is not affecting me directly.
Exactly.
Even the guy down the street. I mean, unless you're making meth or creating bombs and you're planning devastation, well, that's different,
Exactly.
But it really doesn't affect me.
No. And even things like wearing a mask. I mean, here in California, you have to. So people I don't think they get in the fights here like they do in other parts of the country. I could be wrong. But I see these all the time where people, yell at others, especially even like employees of places for not wanting to wear a mask. And it's like, what's the big deal? Okay, this might be a part where you have to give a little bit and you can't just do you. But you're just going in the store, you put it on, you take it off when you get out. It's not a big deal, but people want to make it such a big deal.
Right.
It doesn't need to be at all.
It's not. I mean, if anything, it's showing respect for each other.
Right, exactly.
And it's showing the desire to want to eliminate something that is affecting us all.
Right. When you make fun of somebody for wearing a mask, and you see that a lot. I mean, I see it on TikTok a lot of these videos, people being made fun of for wearing a mask. Oh, you're just scared. You're this, you're that. No, I'm trying to do what's right. I'm trying to do the right thing. That's it, But for whatever reason, we don't seem to understand this. Like, I wasn't alive, I don't think, when seatbelts were... No, I wasn't. When they were made mandatory, okay? But maybe there was an argument there for that, and now everybody does it, So, I don't know. Right. There's resistance, but sometimes you have to realize that there are things that are to protect you and other people, and it's not just about you. You got to think about other people,
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you have to. Let's see. So when we have these moments, like these judgment moments, we have to ask ourselves, why are we judging? And here's some of the reasons why we might be judging. It could be a preconceived notion, something that we've heard, maybe, like I said before, you've heard something about someone, and so you have this idea of what they're going to be like, and so you've prejudged them. But everybody is different and has a different opinion of somebody. Not everybody likes me, but there are a lot of people that do. So it depends on who you talk to. And if you're going to take the judgment of somebody that doesn't like me without getting to know me, well, that's your problem.
Exactly.
A lot of people have strong values. And it's not a problem, but when you try and push your values on other people, we should have good morals. That should just be standard. But when you're trying to push your beliefs and your morals on other people, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't. We're all different.
Yeah.
You're biased for whatever reason. Maybe there's somebody that, like your best friend was hurt by this person, and so you judge them.
That's an easy one to get drawn into.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Jealousy. I can't remember if I've talked about this before, but something that I've noticed, and I do this a lot less now, but I notice it's not just me because I have heard this from a lot of people, is when somebody accomplishes something in their life, a lot of times people will feel not positive for them, not necessarily not happy for them, but feel like, I could have done that. I could have done it better. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we do that?
Right.
There's enough success available for everybody.
There sure is.
Why do we think that because one person has success that we can't either? You know, it's like if I see another psychic that won an award or has a TV show, like Thomas John, for example, he has a TV show.
Right.
I'm not jealous over his TV show. Although I will say when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know why,
Right.
but I don't want the TV show.
Well, you know,
but that's human nature, I think.
Sometimes it's maybe easier to turn the mirror and reflect it on somebody else when you don't want to look at maybe what it is you're doing or not doing. So
Right.
in the sense of that, like success, there is plenty of it. And those that maybe there are some that sit there and go knock what the other guy's doing solely because they're too lazy to do it themselves.
Right, exactly.
But not realizing that if you put the time and effort that you see this person putting into it, you very well could be in the same position.
Right, exactly. And this works with a lot of things. It works with relationships. It works with friendships. You know, my ex-husband and I were friends after the divorce. And then he met his now current wife. And I really tried to, be friends with her and show her that there was nothing there still so that we could be friends. And she couldn't do it. And I understand, these things happen. And there was a jealousy issue there. I wish that maybe we could have talked about it, and so there wouldn't have been this, and I could have explained to her that that's not, I just want to be friends. He's been a part of my life.
Right.
I want you to be a part of my life. I mean, I even spent Thanksgiving with them. This is how much I really tried. We have to learn
That's pretty incredible, I will say.
Well, I don't like that. I'm not the type of person that wants animosity. You know what I mean? I'll be friends with anybody as long as they're good to me.
Yeah, you don't like the confrontation.
I don't like the confrontation. And this was my life for a long time. And, his family was my family. So for me, her coming into his life was almost like family for me. And it's just weird how you have different perceptions of things. And that she was looking at me as a threat where I was looking at her as something very positive for my ex-husband. Yeah. But maybe she didn't know that, because we never talked about it. And this is where communication comes in, that maybe if she would have known that I was coming from, a pure standpoint of I want to be a part of your lives. Yeah. And not a jealousy, maybe it would have turned out differently. Yeah. But we have to learn to communicate and to let our guard down and to let the jealousy, we assume. Yeah. And your assumptions aren't always right. Most of the time, they're probably wrong, I think. We get paranoid.
It's funny that you say that, too, because I think, wow, you could apply this to so many different situations. Even, say, with Marina coming here and, co-parenting with her. And just being in a place where let's make it comfortable for the child.
Yes.
Let's be able to do certain things for the child.
Yes.
We don't have to be buds, No.
We don't have to agree
we
on
can live,
who we are. Yeah.
We can live and allow each other to live.
Yeah.
And support the child.
Right.
That's, another great example of how to apply that, because we may have a lot of listeners that are, that share a child or are divorced or so it's another good example.
Yeah, you make a great point there. I always say I'm glad that my ex-husband and I didn't have kids so that we didn't have to deal with that, because that would be very difficult,
right.
But it can be done, and there's a lot of couples that do it. There's, exes that are friends with, they're the couples. They hang out. I mean, it may seem weird, but it's like,
right. This
person was a part of your life for a long time, I don't know. To me, the whole thing is just, it's weird. I grew up watching my mom and dad hate each other, and it made no sense to me. It's like, why do we have to be like that? Why can't we just, you don't have to be best friends. You don't have to hang out or like each other, but you can learn to just tolerate and get along. And,
my parents were pretty good with that, as far as graduations, any kind of event that had to do with me. Yeah. They were very cordial and nice to each other in these things. And my father was remarried, so it wasn't a big deal. Yeah. And I always respected that. I appreciated that. And then I've met people in my life that, had a child together and worked together, but they would share, like you said, holidays. And I was like, wow, that's a That's incredible that they do that for the child. That is so cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
But
yeah, and because we're all different and our personalities are different, we can't expect that everybody's going to be like that. That's a perfect world and a perfect situation, and you have to work for that. It doesn't just come and hit you upside the head. You know?
Then I apply that again to that and say, I just have to let those people live how they want to live.
That's exactly right.
But I myself and us in our journey together are searching for more kind of peaceful, loving, compassionate resolutions to some of the obstacles that can be thrown at us in life. And it's not always easy. It's sometimes very hard. But
it is hard. But yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
It's a learning where, you do. I think as you get older too, you just get to the point where you're like, it's just not worth it. It's just, I just want to be peaceful and happy. And
yeah, the drama's not.
No, it's very much a turnoff. It's like anybody that causes that kind of drama in my life now, unfortunately, I'm just kind of like, I gotta take a step back because I can't handle it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not worth it. It's really not.
I agree.
Yeah. Something else on the judgment. This is a quote by, can't read my own writing. Jiddu Krishna something. Sorry, I can't read my own writing. But anyways, the quote is, "The ability to observe without evaluation is the highest form of intelligence." And it really is. It takes a lot for you not to judge, for you to stop and think and let the person make their own, or what the situation, whatever. But I get that. I can see where it's...
And the word judgment's not even in there.
No, it's not.
It's just observe.
Observe. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can observe one another, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you want to judge. I'm not telling you whether that's okay or not okay. It's not okay for me, because then you just realize how many times it comes back to you.
Right.
And I'm not saying I've not lived a judgment-free life. I've done it plenty growing up and through life, but you realize the importance of what somebody else's opinion really matters besides the ones you really love,
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't.
Think about this for a second, okay? I'm going to read this, and our listeners, just think about this. Okay. Am I judging this person due to a past experience or because I have a preconception? I may be wrong. Mm-hmm. I may be right. There is no need for conclusion. I'll let it be. I like that a lot. That's a good way to put it. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It really doesn't.
Frees you of it right away.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I made a little list of ways to cure ourselves from the judgment, right? And one of the things that I kept seeing in these articles is practicing meditation and mindfulness. And I push this a lot as the meditation, and people don't understand what it can do for them. They don't understand how it can make you stop and think. It doesn't have to be done in large quantities, but the meditation is very good to calm your mind. Mm-hmm. And the mindfulness. We did an episode on mindfulness, and this is basically just with everything that you do, taking into consideration what you're doing and making it positive and not negative.
And not even necessarily meaning directed towards someone else, but mindfulness towards yourself as well. Oh,
absolutely. With everything that you do. Absolutely. With everything you say, because once you change that thought, if you can stop that thought, if you're going to say something that sounds like it's going to be negative, that mindfulness is supposed to kick in and go, just like my grandma Kitty. I hear her all the time in my head, like she did when I was a kid.
Well, there's a reason we all have that.
Yeah.
For sure. Looney Tunes used to put it, the devil and the angel on the shoulders. There's you have a higher consciousness inside of you that's telling you the right from wrong.
And you know what? That's a good point, is that we see that, the devil and the angel, right? Mm-hmm. And so we figure that this is, God, the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And it is just a metaphor for our subconscious, and that these are the parts of our brain that are fighting, not the devil trying to get us to do something. It's our own brain that we're fighting. And we should always listen to that angel. Right. We should.
Mm-hmm. It's a metaphor for the good and bad.
Exactly. Let's see. So meditation and mindfulness. Taking responsibility for your judgment is also very important. Just saying, this isn't my fault. Whatever. I'm not judging them. No, you have to recognize that you're doing it, that you're judging a situation, or even yourself. Yeah. Judging yourself is a big problem too. You have to recognize that you're doing it before you can make it any better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what else I have for you. Something else that we can do to learn to live and let live is to practice kindness. When you practice kindness towards yourself and life, you see the world differently and you think differently. You begin to see the deeper meaning. So having kindness in everything that you do is very important.
It is.
It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy to always be kind. Because, I still catch myself yelling at bad drivers or the TV or whatever I'm yelling at, But I catch myself now. That's the difference, is I catch myself and I stop and I say, that's not kind. And that's not, that. Well, there used to be this saying, I don't know if they still use it. I used to be into Christianity a lot, and there was the saying, what would Jesus do? And I still use that. Sometimes I change it to what would Linda do? Linda's my mom. So I change it to that. But what would Jesus do is great too. You don't have to be a Christian for that. Jesus was a prophet. He was a mentor. He was psychic himself, clairvoyant.
He was real.
Yes. How would he act? How would he want you to act? What would he do in this situation? And not where I could ever compare myself to being as enlightened as Jesus was, but I can strive for that.
Right.
And I can strive to change my thought to be more like that.
Sure.
Whatever it is,
And I think Christ did the same thing at times, where he said, what would my creator?
Right.
Or what would the people, that helped him, that raised him and taught him,
right?
What would they do? He was doing the same thing. He's human. He just practiced this enough that he opened that channel so vastly.
Right.
But he applied it to just about everything.
This is a different point about Jesus. We should do a show on religion and Dolores Cannon's book. I need to read that.
Yeah.
But Jesus was raised to believe that what he was. He was told what he was. I think Son of God was a metaphor. We're all the Son of God, but he was taught that he's supposed to help and teach and be that prophet, and so he was that way.
Right.
He did that because that's what he was raised to do, and that shows you that if we're taught that we can do these things, if we're taught that we can, have this clairvoyance and have these abilities that Jesus had, anything's possible. It's when we're doubted. If Mary would have told Jesus, oh, you can't walk on water. That's impossible. You can't do that. He never would have been able to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, You're totally right about that, because when you start with a child at a young age, it's so important what you tell them, what you make them believe, because they will really clasp onto that.
Yes.
And whether she was a virgin or wasn't a virgin, he's told, you're the Son of God.
Right.
Or you are essentially, I think he was told more than that. I think he was told that you actually are God that came down here.
Yeah.
By this miracle. What age he was kind of explained that part of it, I don't know. I mean, how does a little kid understand what a virgin is? So.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But the book is incredible, and I would love to do it,
Yeah, we should.
So we'll do it at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Okay, let's see. We got a few more. What else do I got for you? Let's see. There will always be people who will say things or do things that you'll disagree with. Learning to live with our differences is essential to our comfort. I can think of many instances in my life where somebody has said something or done something that really didn't even directly affect me, and I've lost my mind over it.
Right.
And it's like, what's the point of doing that?
Right.
It's not going to change the situation. I'm very passionate about animals, and that's definitely one area where I can tend to, go overboard. But I've even taught myself how I can't get involved in other people's stuff.
Right.
If there's really a situation like, I talked about this before. Somebody on TikTok said something about our black lab that they felt sorry for him because he was outside playing in his pool in the summer or whatever. That's what he wanted to do. If your dog doesn't want to be outside playing in the pool during the summer, then that's your dog. But that was what my dog wanted to do, and so there's no reason to feel sorry for him.
No.
I see in comments of not just TikTok but Facebook and all the different things where people will call people out on their stories and say they're lying. You don't know what this person has been through.
Right.
Ireland Baldwin, she was one I saw today. that she was in a Starbucks or something the other day, and some guy pointed out to her that she had started her period and she had blood on the back of her pants. And he said, "There's blood on the back of your pants. Plug it up." Right? And she's like, "I was just devastated. It was one of the top things that's happened to me that I was devastated about." And in the comments, people are saying, "That didn't happen to you. That's a lie." And other people saying, "You should know when you're going to get your period. You should know this. You should know." What? What? Why are you talking to her this way? No. Like, I don't get that. That's where we need to mind our business. If you have nothing nice to say nothing at all.
Or maybe you should find something better to do with your time instead of trolling these pages and leaving stupid comments on these kind of posts.
Right.
You know, not only is it being okay with our differences essential to our comfort, but it's essential to our existence. And if I can remind people, you know, about 1941, 1942, there was a crazy man on this planet named Hitler that had a movement, a Nazi Aryan race movement that eliminated millions of lives simply because they were not of the same race.
Yep. My grandfather
millions
was one of them.
Lives in a very unhumane, scary way. Okay? That's not impossible for that to happen again.
No, it's not. It's very easy for it to happen again.
So it's not only essential for our comfort, but for our existence.
Absolutely. We don't know, like, okay, sometimes you don't even know what your heritage is, for example. Like, if that were to happen today, if Hitler was alive today and going after Jews, I'm 25% Ashkenazi Jew.
Burn my 23andMe.
Right,
data.
exactly. Damn it.
Burn
Shouldn't
that
have done
computer.
that. Yeah. My grandfather, he was in a concentration camp. And, you know, I never really put two and two together. I knew that made him Jewish, I guess. I never realized that really made me Jewish. I didn't really have anything to do with him in my life. He wasn't a part of my life, really. Right. And then I did 23andMe, and I'm 25% Ashkenazi Jew. So it makes you look at things very differently when you see that, and you're like, wow, I could have been one of those people to die for no reason at all.
And the other point, too, in regards to my report, and I think you may have not had it, but I was like under 2% or something sub-Saharan African.
Yeah, it was too.
You were too?
Yeah.
Okay. So most of us, I'm guessing, are that because we need to look at evolution and migration and the way the planet has evolved. So both geographically, you know. So I appear as white.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm talking, I reflect sunlight. I'm so white.
Yeah, we both do.
But I have that in my genealogy. All right?
Yep. That's the way it goes.
We
Absolutely.
are one race, folks. It doesn't matter what your belief is, what your skin color is. It doesn't matter.
We all come from everywhere. You know, we have to be tolerant of that. And, you know, it's like, I say sometimes, okay, Labradors, there's 3 different colors Labradors, right? They're not intolerant of each other just because of their color. It doesn't make them different. They're still Labradors. Their fur is just a different color.
Yeah.
You know, do they act a little bit differently? Yeah, I could see the differences a little bit between lab colors and people too. People act differently. That's how you're raised. That's how what, you know, is in your genes. But that's what makes us unique.
And most dogs in general will coexist as different breeds within their species. And there's usually probably 9.9 times out of 10, there's not an issue.
Yeah, dogs don't judge on breed. I mean, our Great Dane loves small dogs, but I think that's because he's not intimidated by them. He feels more comfortable with them, but he's not judging them on it. You know what I mean? Dogs don't do that.
No.
They're just, they don't.
We can learn a lot from them.
They judge on how they're treated and how something or somebody makes them feel.
Yeah.
I definitely believe when my dogs don't like somebody, I listen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a reason for that. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is it's really important that if you have a grasp on this or you're trying to get a grasp on this, that you lead by example. my therapist told me something this week that I really have absorbed, and I like this, and I'll share it. I don't remember what his name is, but he was a Buddhist monk, and he was leaving the Philippines, and he had to get on a boat, and everybody was freaking out, right? And the boats are, crazy. Like what I would imagine the Titanic was kind of like what they made it look like in the movie. People are freaking out. Uh-huh. So he's a Buddhist monk, and he needs to do his part to try and calm the people on that boat down. And just his energy alone, he was able to do it. He was able to make his boat calm, and they were able to get to safety. And for those of us that are spiritually enlightened and are trying to make a difference, we have to be those people. Mm-hmm. We have to be the example. We have to show this is how you're supposed to treat people. Don't judge them on these things, on, their color, their sexual orientation, where they come from. We have to be those peacekeepers. Right. It's very, very important. And when we do that, just like this story of the monk on the boat, it's contagious. Mm-hmm. People start to feel it. They start to relax, and then they can spread it onto other people. And this is how we get to this, evolution, this peacetime, is that us light workers here, we have to teach others this peace by example. Right. You can't preach it. Like, we can sit here and talk about it, right, but you can't sit in a room with somebody and preach it to them because they're not going to absorb it that way. Right. It's example. You have to be the example. And
that's just going out in everyday life. Really, right. And facing the world with that kind of intent and mentality, I guess.
It changes your perception of things. It changes the way people look at you. Like, I was very different. Like, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I wasn't like this. And if somebody wanted to argue with me on Facebook, I'll argue with you all day on Facebook. Now I won't even tolerate it on one of my posts. I don't get aggressive with it. I just simply, if somebody says something derogatory, I will either remove it myself and I'll go on with my day, right, or I will politely ask them to remove it and tell them why. This is not the type of person that I am, and it's not the way that I want my life to be reflected. And what happens is, after a while, after people seeing that you're like this, they stop messing with you. Mm-hmm. People are very careful about, like, what they say. Yeah. And not in a bad way. I'm not making them uncomfortable, but they know that I'm not going to argue back with them. Right. And I don't want to hear the negative. And it stops them. And I'm hoping that that it stops people with those things with me, that maybe it even makes them think about it themselves for a minute, of maybe I'm not supposed to argue. Maybe she's trying to teach me to be more peaceful. Right. We have to be that example. Yeah. Yeah. All of us that are put here for this, we have to be that example.
Right. And there's still a way for somebody, like, to go on, like, say, like, your page or somebody else's page and share a comment about their point of view that isn't offensive and isn't being requested to be removed.
That's right.
So,
yes,
it takes all of us to work at this.
Yeah.
In order for this to be possible. But this planet is paradise. It is heaven. Mm-hmm. It's about our perception and what we make it.
Yes.
And if we think this is like the lobby or the waiting area to, like, destroy until the next phase, we're wrong.
Yeah.
This is what's the most important part right here.
This is where you learn.
Yeah.
This is where you're not supposed to die the same person that you were born. You're supposed to evolve and change and become enlightened, right, and feel these things and be a whole soul and a whole person. Mm-hmm. And that's a goal.
And our job really is to keep this planet going.
Yes.
To make sure it's there for the school to always be open.
Yes.
If there's no bodies to inhabit, the souls have nowhere to go.
That's right.
And then they don't learn.
No.
Well, they don't learn as much.
Right. To our fellow light workers, this is a difficult time, but you're here for a reason. And I felt that was important. I got this message of, you're here for a reason. No matter how hard things are or how hard they get or whatever happens, we are all here in this time for a reason. We chose to be here during this time. So when things happen, we have to remember that, so that we don't let them stress us as much as, we do.
Right.
I'm preaching to myself on this because I've definitely been very stressed lately. Mm-hmm. The universe has the control. They will steer us in the direction that we're supposed to go, and they're not going to let us fall. But we have to make those, right decisions and be the guides,
Yep.
and understand that as a light worker, your life will probably be more difficult than the average, and that's okay. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I don't know why I got that message. Maybe somebody needed to hear that, but I felt it was important to share that.
Yeah. Fight the good fight.
Yep.
And keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Yep. And spread the faith.
Yeah. Spread the faith.
Spread the faith. Yeah. And the peace and love.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what I got for
That's
you.
it. All right. That was a good one.
I like that topic. I think it's very important, and I wish more people would understand that if we all could just live and let live and not, mind your business. If it doesn't involve you, mind your business.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We will all be more peaceful that way.
We got to try it. And if you don't try it, you'll never know if it works or not.
That's right.
But
for sure.
I can't see any other resolution, or it doesn't seem the other things we're trying don't seem to be working, is what I'm saying.
No. And sometimes you just can't win against certain things or certain people, and you just have to say, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll handle this a different way, or I'll walk away from it, whatever it is. There's just some things that, some fights you won't win the way you want to. That's okay.
Or they're not even worth taking up.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
For sure.
Cool. Well, before we say goodbye, would you like to share your page?
Yes, sir. So you can find everything on my website, SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. If you would like to buy show merch, you can go to redbubble.com/spiritualjoneses, or you can email us at spiritualjoneses@gmail.com, and we will send you a nice little free merch pack. You don't have to pay nothing. Yeah. We're not trying to make money. We're just trying to get out there.
We'll take a picture of it all on the table and put it up on a discussion group or something so we could show you what it looks like.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and you, sir?
For my artwork, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook, and gypsybrown.com for the music for the web, at Gypsy Brown Music for Instagram, and at Gypsy Brown Band for Facebook. And that's all I got.
Yay.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this.
Yes, we do.
I did.
Me too.
Every time we kind of talk about these topics,
We're talking to ourselves.
We are. And you and I talk during the week about them.
Yeah.
But I always feel like it's a second conversation.
Yes.
And I walk away with something new.
Me too.
Maybe we didn't talk kind of the first time, so.
Yeah.
That's always good.
It is, yeah. I try not to tell you everything I'm going to do so that we can have that, conversation without it seeming like it's scripted, because it's not. Yeah.
Cool.
So, yay.
So, we just hope everybody got something out of it, and go out there and live and let your neighbor live.
Yeah, exactly.
And life will be better and happy.
Yeah.
Well, everybody have a great week.
Yes, indeed.
Until next week, peace and love.